acronym is a Planning and Environmental Linkages. It's a collaborative process that we use to help get to our decision making for the transportation. It's a federal highway process that we follow. MDOT's been doing these for 12, 15 years and been using them very successfully to help to work through and get to a desired outcome. This considers environmental issues, it considers community impacts and input, and overlays all that with engineering and concepts to come up with a desired, end result. The ultimate goal here is to reduce duplication, so a lot of this work gets done and it sets MDOT up to move into the next phase, and facilitate informed decisions. We want you folks to understand kind of what's driving MDOT's thinking here and the team's thinking on how we get to that, okay? So it really is an open book about that. I'll let Josh talk about what MDOT's point of view, what's driving this.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Our need for the project. So when you're out there on I-194, it is 1961 pavement. It's been gone through its whole lifespan. We've done what we can to repair it with localized repairs along the way, and we have the need now for a rebuild or reconstruct, excuse me. In 2021, we did one last big renovation of all the pavement that we can do, and we figured that'll get us 5-6 years, and then we're going to go forward and we're going to have to do a full reconstruct. We're going to tear everything up and we're going to have to put everything back in one way or another. Part of the PEL is to look at the bridges. We're going to look at the condition of the bridges along the way. There's quite a few bridges in this corridor. You might not realize it, but sometimes when you're going over one on the northbound lane, there's also one on the southbound lane. That counts as 2. So there's quite a few bridges along this 3-mile stretch. The big bridge that we're concerned with right now is the one over the river. It is scour critical, we call it, which means water could potentially be washing underneath the bridge. So we are paying close attention to that one. And that job may jump up earlier in the PEL, but that is our main bridge to look at. When we decide what we're going to do with this corridor, this I-194, we will have to then take it into sections potentially. This would be an MDOT job. It would have to be cut up and it would have to join the whole region for its typical process to get into the 5-year plan. The objectives of getting this in the 5-year plan then, or the objectives, of this PEL would be, number 1, to develop alternatives that effectively and safely improve mobility and address the project's purpose and need. Purpose and need is another slide coming up. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Number 2, identify current and future deficiencies of aging roadways, bridges, and culverts along the I-94 corridor and study area. Roadways in anticipation of major reconstruction within the next 10 years. So like I said, this isn't going to happen soon. We're looking at about 10 years down the road for whatever comes of this PEL. And then the last one is engage and communicate with local and stakeholders and the public to ensure all play an important role in the decision-making process and deliver a successful project in the eyes of all stakeholders. That's what we're doing here. This is the public outreach part of this. We have an LAG group, which is local advisory group, the MPO for Battle Creek, the local business owners, local jurisdictions all come together to give us their input as well on this. Here's the public outreach, and then we have an internal MDOT team as well, looking at all the things behind all the details. The big thing we're looking for here, and this is really the wrap up that MDOT's concerned with, is if this connection between Battle Creek and I-94 were to be made today, nothing's there right now, we're decided to build this freeway here or build this road connection here, what would we put in? What would it look like? What would we build? Would we build a freeway like we have now, or would we build something else? And that's really what we're going forward with.
What should be put back? Should it stay the way it is, or could it be different? So as part of this process, we have to do what we call a purpose and need statement, which is over here in this board to Josh's right. This purpose and need statement provides the basis for the alternatives evaluation. We're going to evaluate alternatives against each other, and this purpose and need kind of helps set the criteria for that. It's also required. So the next phase of this would eventually be what's called environmental clearance, and a purpose and need goes right in there. And then this helps keep the alternatives from growing beyond the project intent, because a lot of times you get out there and you start talking to folks about, well, we'd like to see this, we'd like to see that. Well, let's go back to the purpose and need to make sure we're addressing the main issues. That's really the purpose of that. So this is the draft purpose. He's already hit all that, which is essentially, we got aging infrastructure. But one thing to kind of think about here is there's two other drivers I think I want to make sure people are aware of. One is, this isn't just about replacing the road with another road. There's also, in today's world of everything that MDOT does and the city does, is multimodal, non-motorized, bicycle paths, sidewalks, things that help make the community a little bit more pedestrian friendly. So that's also part of this. We're going to be looking at that. And then also from the city's point of view, is how do we make this a better entrance into Battle Creek? Okay, because it dumps you right into the downtown, and so making it a little more aesthetically pleasing is also a desired outcome. The need, again, limited pedestrian bicycle facilities in the area. And we do know there's some needs along Columbia, G Drive, and so forth. So there are some needs, and there's some stuff going on along the river that might connect to this. So MDOT has adopted this definition for right sizing, and essentially right sizing is trying to look at, like a facility, and is it what we need today, just because we built it in the past. Detroit's a good example. It's been in the news a little bit. At 375, which is right downtown, the city and MDOT have finally come to an agreement to remove the freeway. Okay, so that's going to become a local street. That's an example of right sizing. Another example here is, 1 to 2-way conversions, replace underused freeways with at-grade routes. What you're going to see tonight, I wouldn't say this is an underused freeway, but when it was built, 1960s, 61, Battle Creek, Kellogg's a big driver of employment. Is that need still there for it to be a freeway? That's what we're going to want to hear from you folks tonight. So, the LAG, Josh mentioned, some of them are here tonight. We have this group that we've already met with 3 times, and we bring ideas to them and they provide us feedback. Okay, so we've got the county, we've got the township, we've got the city, various agencies, and some business owners that are also adjacent, and we want to hear from them and help guide this. So today we're talking to the public. One of the layers that we have to look at in PEL, the E, environment, is what are the constraints, okay? This is a map here. We have another map over here, also on the wall or on the tripod. Constraints that we have to be aware of from a traditional sense are wetlands, rivers, parks, environmental justice populations or communities, hazardous materials, that's the yellow triangles. So we want to know what's out there and make sure that we are considering it as we look at alternatives. The biggest constraint probably at the moment at the north end is the park right there when you come off of Hamlin. Right there in the northeast quadrant, there is a park with a statue monument. Yeah, exactly. So that's a big deal, and we want to avoid that at all costs. Traffic. So traffic, existing traffic, and safety is one of our starting points. What's going on out there today? In other words, we look at data and get our arms around the issues. There are some crashes. We have an exhibit over here. So if you want to know more about what's happening today, as far as where are the issues, where are there accidents happening, we have that data here. And then where's the traffic issues? Where's the backups occurring? And that's what this kind of tells us. It's a little technical, but Matt Hill is here. If you have questions about traffic or safety, Matt is the guy to ask, okay? For the most part, you don't really have a lot of congestion issues out there. And we look at AM and PM peak, okay, conditions. So this really isn't a project that's trying to fix an existing, gosh, we got a 10-mile backup or a 10-minute wait. That's not the case here. We have aging infrastructure that needs replaced, is the general, but we're gonna make it better. So, alternatives. You can replace what's out there today with what's there today. It can be a freeway with all the bridges and the grade separations. That's on the table, okay? It's actually, we could probably call that the no build. The no build is if we don't do anything. Well, MDOT has to do something, and if nothing comes out of this, they will replace it in kind, okay? Another alternative is to turn it into a boulevard. Get rid of the bridges, bring it all down to grade at the intersections. And again, let's repeat this. If this connection was built today, under the current traffic conditions you have today, what would it be? This is going north. That map over here at the far left is this. There's 5 intersections as we go from south to north. The first one is G Drive, Golden. It currently goes under the highway, right? There's no connection. The next one is Columbia, M96. That's a grade separated interchange. You cross the river, you now have, I think, Burnham Street, which currently goes over, under? Under, thank you. Does not connect. And then we hit Dickman and Hamlin, which are both interchanges, okay? So each of those is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's what those are over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correspond to those numbers, so you can kind of connect the dots here as you move from south to north. That's what those blow-ups are, okay? So what we're gonna do is step you through kind of the thinking here for the at-grade alternative, okay? So at G Drive, if we get rid of the bridge, we now have G Drive that hits 194, right? So to make this work, what we have are what they call indirect lefts. To go north, if you're heading east, you gotta go south. Do the U-turn and go. Pretty typical in Michigan, this is pretty common. MDOT, where they have at grade, anybody drives up 127 north from Lansing, that slow stretch at 17 miles near Uncle John Cider Mill, they're doing this because of safety. Cars that want to make the shoot across, they're getting rid of that. So this is a big safety consideration. So, so if you're on G Drive today, you can just go right, no problem. So the change is, if you drive this road routinely or once in a while, you can just go under the freeway. That now would become a different journey. But you currently can't get on 194 from G Drive, and now with this scenario, you could. Trade-off. Okay?
And can you explain how they get on 94?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you were going down Golden here, coming to here, you just turn south. Go.
And just keep going?
Yeah, yeah. And if you want to go north though, into town, that's where you have to come down, do this, and go up.
What would the speed limit be at that point?
Yeah, 194 there would probably be if we go Boulevard 55, that design speed, posted speed, or posted speed? Posted 55. So currently 70 up to a point. I think it transitions pretty close to Columbia, doesn't it? Yeah. So one of the things to think about is your travel time today, if you're a daily commuter, and this is your, you're doing this in the morning, you're doing it at night, your travel time is approximately 3.5 minutes. 3 miles, 7 miles an hour, free flow. Signals go in at a couple locations. It's going to be a slower journey by about a minute or plus, depends. But that's
RIRO
Right in,
access.
right out.
Yep, right in, right out, access to G Drive.
How would bicycles negotiate this intersection?
That's a good question. We haven't figured that out entirely, but that has come up during our LAG, that if this alternative moves forward, and that's probably our biggest concern, is that today you can cross 194 quite easily with a bicycle or a pedestrian, and this would be, now you gotta get across. So we don't have that answer yet, and what we want to hear tonight is, let me ask this question. What is the traffic, bicycle traffic or pedestrian traffic on G Drive? I mean, what's the need, in other words, what's the,
Is it part of the city's master plan for bicycle routes?
I don't think G Drive is. We do have the master plan on our constraints map for the bike, to put the
Yeah.
planned routes.
Because there are people who use G Drive to get out to County Park.
Okay,
On
and-
bikes.
On bikes, yeah. Probably not as heavily trafficked as other bike routes in Battle Creek, but it is a way to get out to County Park from the Lakeview area.
gotcha. we've talked about, I mean, nothing's decided, but options could include, a tunnel under. I mean, you know, a box culvert can solve that much better than a bridge, costly bridge. So again, it kind of depends on the demand. If that's for one bike a week, that's not gonna be probably something MDOT wants to invest in. But where would they typically have, I guess, I'm looking at Matt Hill or Jason here. If you were to just cross there, how do they do that? At grade? Or is it not happen?
You could do a signalized pedestrian crossing, would be probably, you'd have flashers and crossings, overhead signals is one option.
So only with a push
Yeah,
button.
exactly. Yep, you see them, I don't know if there's any around here, but you'll see them quite often, yeah, pedestrians can push it, activate the overhead signals or the signals on the side,
The only-
stop traffic.
Not to digress too much, the only problem with those is you have to get off your bike and go push the
Definitely,
button.
yep.
And
They do have actuated ones now, but yeah, that's.
they don't
still
see you as a
hybrid.
bicyclist.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the
Yeah.
trade-offs of this option,
Yeah, okay.
It's that kind of situation.
But that wouldn't work at this intersection as proposed.
They'd have
right?
to put in,
Well,
They,
yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's why it needs to fit into the bigger plan.
yeah,
I like
Because
the
if the
tunnel.
city and the township and the non-motorized plan says, we do need an east-west connection, maybe it's at Columbia. Maybe it's not here, but it needs to be somewhere. And that's something we're gonna, and again, no decisions are being made, but that's what we wanna hear. It's very important to us to know where that
for
goes.
cyclists right now,
Mhm.
nobody would use Columbia, they'd use Golden.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, non-motorized path along here is likely. So a 10-foot path is probably here, going to connect up to the north to what's going on in the river. Again, you have that shown on the map. So I think one of our questions really is that if the boulevard alternative does move forward, how do you handle that question you brought up? It's a very good question that needs to be addressed.
would the bike lane that you're contemplating be protected bike lane?
Yes, the
Not
right of
just
way
a-
out
Not just a
here,
white stripe on the
Correct.
edge of a 55-mile-an-hour.
I think it'd be separated by some green space.
Yeah, and again, that's, yep, an option to be considered, yeah, that could be one option, it's separated, you could,
Yeah.
big enough, you could have a non-motorized and a bicycle path, that's some of the issues that need to be fleshed out eventually, but yeah, it's
When
definitely.
we come back in that next meeting, we'll have some more, I guess, like to get more reaction on non-motorized placement. But there's a lot of right of way out here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the width out here is
Yeah.
quite significant, and to have, again, plenty of separation between travel lanes and non-motorized would be a goal. Okay, so now we have a signal instead of grade separated, right? And so at grade signalized, indirect left. Indirect left means you can't go left at the intersection. I can't go this way, and I can't go that way. And I can't go that way. To go left, you have to go right. Okay? And MDOT again does this at signalized intersections, just like they did down G Drive, to prevent accidents. It's a safety improvement and it's an operational improvement, makes the signal work faster. So, go south, there'd be a signal here, and a signal here. These would all be synced up. So if you were a through traveler on 194, you would still not have to stop at all three signals, most likely. You'd go through. In Columbia is where we've seen probably the most activity, I think, everybody's agreeing. A lot of the accidents showed up there. We have seen some evidence of, or heard from the LAG that there is pedestrians walking in some pretty not
Yeah.
good conditions.
Horrid.
Yeah.
And wheelchairs.
Right.
And would sidewalks be put in at that intersection?
I believe so. Sidewalks?
Are there existing sidewalks? The question was.
Would we add sidewalks in here? We would, wouldn't we?
It would have to be.
Yeah, it'd have to be, right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay. So we go up north to number 3. This is Burnham. This would function very similar to, or the same as G Drive. Currently, you can go right through. Under this scenario, you get rid of the bridge, you have to go south to go north, or go north to go south. Same issue, same questions you had about bikes. Again, what we want to find out, and we're not there yet, I guess, is where is the demand or need for that east-west connection for bikes? Because you probably can't provide it at all three, you know what I'm saying? So that needs to link to the bigger plan. Where do people want to go? You know what I'm saying? So connect to the grid of the non-motorized. Which is,
To put the
again,
bike. I hear what you're saying, but the bike, the riders would have to come down the hill at Riverside if they're going back to their home, they would have to climb that hill on bikes. And that might not be the first choice.
hills can be challenging.
I don't think from the avid, you've got the avid cyclists and you've got the more recreational cyclists. And they're two different user groups. Most of the avid cyclists are on the street,
Sure.
and the recreational cyclists like
Mhm.
off-road trails that they feel much safer on them.
Okay.
So,
Something you need to keep in mind with regard to cyclists too is that I don't know if the question is where do cyclists go now? Because cyclists will stay away from areas that are, that discourage them for safety reasons from riding there. So if you can create a design that creates attractive, protected bike lanes, you'll find cyclists
Okay.
using those.
and right now, the only real bike lane to get downtown from south of Columbia is Capitol Avenue, and it's really not,
Okay.
it's not a pleasant ride.
It's not a
It's
protected.
doable, but
Right.
it's not pleasant. A boulevard with a pathway would really enhance, and it would be a connection to the linear park, which would be absolutely wonderful.
Okay. I think that path is on our
Yeah.
proposed, so that path along here is proposed
Yeah.
as
It
part of
would
the
be
non-motorized,
great.
which I think was just recently being updated, that we heard too, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
true, we're just wrapping up an update of the
Okay.
non-motorized plan. And we're actually kind of in that public review process, so it's a good time to connect with this project in its planning stages.
So again, the benefit and the reason why MDOT is doing this now is we got a lot of lead time. These are the issues that take time to work out, and the city is aware of this, and they can coordinate. And let's not get down the road 5 years and go, gosh, I wish we were thinking about that. And so, we know that, they know that, and so at the end of the day, I think, it'll be definitely a goal to have this facility as it gets replaced, enhance and complement whatever's planned here in the community that makes the bicycling and pedestrians in this area better. But Dickman Road, now we're trying to slow down a little bit. We're in, everybody's pretty familiar with this. Indirect lefts, meaning, what we showed before, don't work here. We have constraints. We have Dickman Road, which is right here, but more importantly, there's not enough distance this way. So you really can't turn people north. You have a bridge right here, there's a bridge here, these bridges. So essentially, this intersection would function like a typical intersection with direct left. So if you want to go north, you're going to get the left-hand lane and go north. Same thing here. Same thing here. Okay. So there's just not enough distance to put in those indirect movements.
Now, would there be considerations of adding roundabouts where you have, like, signalized intersections?
Good question.
Because I know you have the space to replace the interchange.
Yeah, we do have the space, and actually, I'll be honest, we looked at roundabouts already. You don't see any tonight because they failed, the traffic, the future traffic. So we ran future 2045 AM, PM peak traffic through, we had roundabouts planned throughout, or at least laid out, because we thought that made a lot of sense potentially. Problem is the volumes were too high for 2-lane roundabouts. Now, you could, if you go to a 3-lane roundabout, it might work, but MDOT's not really in favor of building those. Folks that get confused and don't like 2-lane are gonna hate 3-lane. And they only got like, is there a 3-lane down at Metro somewhere?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and there's been some grumbling about the 3-lane. So the roundabouts, you're right, lots of space, but they don't work due to the volumes.
Is that what's on Sprinkle Road in Kalamazoo? A three lane?
Two. No, it's two.
Just 2 lane, okay.
So, Hamlin is gonna be basically what you have today, okay? We'll clean it up. In other words, traffic operations wise, when we put the engineering to it, we can clean this intersection up and get it looking a little better. This is where we want to look for some opportunities for some aesthetics potentially here or even further downstream. But again, the Sojourner Park here, this is the constraint. There's an opportunity here for this parking lot. But essentially you can see the distance here and here are all tight. So you're next to other signals. So it won't be a lot different anyway. So where are we going? Rest of the summer, we're going to listen to what we have here tonight. We're going to refine the alternatives. Essentially, we're talking two. Replace, as you see today, or a boulevard. We're going to put some costs to both of them. So next time you hear from this committee or this group, you'll see costs associated with them. And again, significance is that if you eliminate 5 or 6 bridges, that's a pretty big factor. And MDOT, and their right sizing, if you take 5 bridges off their, future maintenance, that's a big deal, So the cost will be very interesting to see when we put that to it. We'll come back in September, hopefully, I think, to this group again and what we'll see the different thing is we'll have criteria based on the purpose and need. We'll evaluate the two, we'll score them a little bit, we'll see cost, and we'll have some better exhibits with a little more detail. We'll also flesh out non-motorized options and considerations. We don't have to solve all those problems during this panel. We just need to be aware so that when MDOT gets done, they know we need to provide non-motorized connectivity and options. That's what we want to have.
What's the landscaping for the boulevards and who maintains it?
Well, that's a good question. That's a debate sometimes between MDOT and the city. But they, if the city wants, certain landscaping, then they get to an agreement on who's going to maintain it.
And what's typical on a boulevard like this that you're putting in now?
I'm not sure about typical.
There's really no typical,
I mean, if you have to get in there and mow it, maintain it, and water it, that's always a concern, So that's kind of.
Grass, stones?
grass, just mowed grass.
Mowed.
I'll let Josh talk about the timing, but look, if you follow transportation, all of you guys do, money and projects are challenged, to say the least. I mean, the governor's worked on it for how many years, and it's still out there. So, and this is a big project. As far as the region goes, this is going to gobble up a lot of resources, correct?
Yeah, this would be the big project of the region for a year or two. And it all depends. I mean, we just saw the governor give a good push of money to do a lot of the work you're seeing around here right now. That could happen again, that could not. But it would get in line, that's sort of what I was getting at. It could be pieced up, broken into different pieces to make the project more chunkable for the budget. So there's a lot of options that could happen once we know what we want to do.
But it won't be happening anytime soon, I guess is what I was wondering.
I mean, again, if we figure out what we want and the money, hey, I'm another governor with another bunch of money or whatever. The plan right now would be our 5-year plan is established. So 5 years from now would put you at 2029. It's not in there. So 2030 could be the first year as of right now.
Okay.
But
It's
you never
actually
know.
working out well because we've been having discussions with the city about what's happening at the river with the restoration and trying to fix that. And whatever comes out of that and connecting whatever pathways to this is going to be important. So I think allowing time for that to take root and shape will really help bring this project to connect and make it better.